What's up, guys? Gonna let everyone know that we're getting started, and then I'm going to, then we'll get started. All right, guys, we're gonna get started here. So we're gonna be talking about indexes, market indexes, what goes along with it, what it is, so on and so forth, and why they're important, right? Okay, so first, we'll just take a look at the indexes here, and we're gonna kind of break this down. Okay, so first, we need to get this understanding. So the indexes make up, they're a collection of a majority of the markets. Okay. It's a collection of a bunch of different stocks put together. Easiest way to put it, right? And how you have to look at this, because I know everybody likes to trade all different tickers like Meta and Tesla and NVIDIA, Apple, all this good stuff, which is completely okay, right? But you need to be in sync with the indexes. You need to be trading with the trend of the indexes, okay? So let's break this down. Okay, so how you have to look at this is first, you need to follow the index, okay? So that's the first thing. That's the number one thing you have to pay attention to. What is the indexes? So that would be QQQ, SPY, and the Dow, which is DIA. Okay, that's the first thing. Then you're going to need to move into the sector. Okay, so next would be the sector, which, so for example, you can look all this stuff up, and I'm about to show you how to do it, right? And so when we're looking at that, we are going to then, once we've done that, we're going to move into the stock. Okay. So first it goes index, sector, then stock. Okay. And that's how you need to go about evaluating everything that you do. Like if you're going to take a trade in Meta, you need to evaluate it in this fashion. Okay. And that's going to give you the best trades, the best results, just overall the best deal, right? And like it's going to give you the highest quality setups. Okay. And so now let's look at it this way. So what we have, I'm going to put down some examples of how this works, right? So these ones would be NASDAQ, S&P 500, and then the Dow 30, which is like DIA, okay? So if you're looking at these from perspectives, and I watch all of these, I watch ES, which is the S&P 500. NQ, which is the NASDAQ, and then YM, which is the Dow. Do I watch the Russell? I mean, not really. Sometimes, I mean, I won't trade any stocks in the Russell. I mean, unless it's like maybe DraftKings or something like that. But like, if I'm going to be trading small caps, I'm just going to be trading the Russell 2000, which is IWM. So we can include that in here, but it's more of a less relevant one. But you can definitely pay attention to this one for sure, which is Russell 2000. Yeah, I probably should start paying attention to that one more. I just don't, honestly. I don't have a good reason why. Okay. Well, now that you say that, I'll add it in. All right. I'll start watching it. Okay. So now when we look at these, right? Let's break this down. So these are the first things here. Index, you have these. And then when you're looking at sectors, you're going to be looking at things like XLK, which is technology. And you're going to be looking at XLC, which is communications. So technology would be like Apple, Oracle, Microsoft, NVIDIA, things of that nature, right? XLC will be your communications like Disney, Meta, Google. Okay, and those are just some top names in those. Then there's going to be consumer discretionary, which is XLY. That's going to be your Amazon and Tesla. And I'm not going to name them all, but I'm naming kind of the heavy hitters here. SMH, which is semiconductors, very important in this market right now. I would say the top ones here are XLK and SMH. Those are the top ones, top sectors that usually influence the market as a whole. A lot of people like to watch what SMH is doing because that's heavily what technology is. The whole AI thing right now, that's semiconductors. That's the main gig with that right now. So that would be NVIDIA, which also falls under XLK as well. AMD, things of that nature. Let's see. There's XLE, which kind of does its own thing a little bit. So it's a little bit different from the rest, but it's one to pay attention to. And then there's like XLB, which is materials. I said I'm not going to go through and name all these. But yeah, so these are kind of like some main ones that you want to pay attention to. XLI, this is like John Deere and Caterpillar. Those are some names in there. So these are kind of like the primary ones. I can give you all of them here. I have them breaking down pretty nicely in this here. And so like, here's your indexes, NASDAQ, S&P 500, the Dow, the Russell 2000, and then we've got technology. Main one you want to pay attention to is XLK. These are kind of like cloud stocks, semiconductors here. Growth names, not very important. XLY, that is consumer discretionary, right? And then XLF is a big one you want to pay attention to, which is the banks. Okay, so you want to pay attention to that one as well. So the reason why you do it like this is because like if you're bullish on like how it kind of works is like rough math, right? It's going to be like 30 when you're picking a stock. I would probably go with 40. It'd probably be like 40% the index. When you're taking a trade, 40% of that move is going to be as a result of the index, right? And this is like back of the envelope math, but 30% will be the sector. And then 30% will be like the actual stock. Okay. So that's why it's so important to pay attention to all of these other things that are included with it. And we'll continue through and I'll give you a little more breakdown here. So you've got, here's real estate, IYR, XLRE is one that I pay attention to as well. Home builders, which is XLB, sorry, XHB. Got your banks here. Healthcare, XLV. Industrials, XLI. XLB, which is materials, jets. This is going to cover all the airplanes, stuff like that. Like American Airlines, things of that nature. XLP, this is going to be your value stocks. Commodities. So here you go. This is the energy sector. So this would be like CVX, Exxon, things of that nature. XME, this is metals and mining stuff. So this one is a good one to pay attention to if you're paying attention to that. And then down here is rates. So TNX is the 10-year, and then TLT is the 20-year bond, and the charts that you can trade based off of those. I will trade TLT from time to time. It's a pretty good one to trade. I mean, it has really good directional moves, and the options are cheap, and it has pretty significant moves. But this moves inverse to XLT or NX. TNX moves an opposite, but we won't get into that right now. Okay. So now when we're looking at this, we go back to our chart here where we're breaking everything down. So you've got the index, you've got the sector, and then you've got the stock. Okay. And so now you're probably wondering, do I trade commodities? Yeah, I like trading oil. I haven't done it in a while. I've been focusing on NASDAQ and the main indexes, but I'll trade oil once in a while. Gold, no. I hate gold. It's really hard to trade unless you're doing it long term. Just buy the bricks and put them in a safe. But yeah, so this is kind of the formula you want to go about in understanding and how you pick trades. So like it's not as simple as you would think it is. So how can we simplify this process? Because you're probably like, dang, so I got to look at the index, make sure the index looks good. Then I got to look at the sector and make sure that looks good. And then I got to find a stock. Okay. So if you want to make, so how you would go about doing this is you go to the sector, and then the easiest way to do it, find the strongest looking stock in that sector. So you look at the index looks good, sector looks good. Okay, now pick the strongest one out of all of them. Doesn't matter, just strongest one, that's the one you want to be trading. Okay. Like, for example, if let's say we were bullish SMH, okay, and we go, which is semiconductors. Now let's go look at a few semiconductors. Which one would probably be the best one to be bullish on? Okay, there's MU. There is AMD. There is, let's see, NVIDIA. Okay, which one of these you probably want to be trading? Probably NVIDIA, because it's the strongest one out of all of them. So pick the strongest one. It's usually going to reap the most benefits. Now look at this one, look at SMH. So it's even stronger than SMH as a whole. Okay. So now that we understand that, probably that's the easiest way to go about it. But what is something easier that you can do that's even easier than this? If we have to look at the index, then we have to look at the sector, then we have to look at the stock. Okay, what's probably easier than all this? We can eliminate. Yeah, I'm going to go to full screen. I got it not at full screen for a reason, and we'll move into that in a second. Here, I'll do it for now. But okay, so we have the index, sector, stock. Okay, how can we make this process easier on yourself and just your brain power, right? We get rid of this, and we get rid of this. Now we just focus on this here. Okay, we just focus on the index. It's going to make your life so much easier. Your trading a lot easier, because there's going to be times, trust me, I've had plenty of times where I'm like, oh, QQQ looks good. Okay, so let's go look at the semiconductors. Okay, so the semiconductors look good. Okay, so now I'm going to trade NVIDIA. Index makes the exact move to the T, what I want to happen. And then NVIDIA is just kind of, lack of better term, just farting around doing nothing, right? It's just hanging out, just chopping around, not making the move that I want. And then the market's like this. And then when we get here, then NVIDIA starts to pick up, but then the market keeps going even further. And so the move that I wanted to catch is like way behind the move that I wanted to catch in this, or it'll happen this way. Market makes the move that I want to happen. And we get here, NVIDIA is doing nothing and just hanging out, doing nothing. And then it starts to make its move. And then markets decide to do something like this. And then NVIDIA, I'm stopped out. When I could have taken profit here, made money on the index, and would have been done. And instead, I wanted to be fancy and go from index to here, then sector to here. And sometimes you'll find outperformers. That will happen. You'll want, like, the reason why you do this is if you're going to go pick a certain stock, let's say you're bullish on the index and you're bullish on a sector, pick the strongest stock because you're looking for an outperformer. The only reason you're trading NVIDIA instead of, this is just an example, but the only reason you're trading NVIDIA instead of SPY or QQQ is because you expect that NVIDIA is going to make a bigger move than QQQ. That's the only reason you're doing it. If they were going to move the exact same, why wouldn't you just trade the index? And sometimes it can be like that. And that's just the way it is sometimes, right? There's a question, then move at the same time, or it's a delay. Well, so sometimes stocks can do its own thing, and that just kind of sucks. And I like to avoid that by just straight up trading the index. And a lot of times that can make it a lot easier for yourself, where it's like, index is moving the way I want it to, my stock is not. And then the index starts tanking, and then it's like, dang, now my stock's tanking and it didn't even move up when the markets were moving up. And then it just sucks. But at other times, if you're picking the strongest stock, sometimes if the stock is going like this, or sorry, if the index is going like this and kind of slowly moving up, your stock sometimes will do this. But, you know, a lot of times that's getting lucky, and you got to pick the strongest stock. The best chance of catching this when the market is doing this is when you pick the strongest stock. But I found more often than not, your stock is going to be doing the same thing as the market. So it's easier to just go ahead and trade the market and keep your life simple, right? Main time I'll look at other stocks is I will go and I'll say, okay, I'm going to, like, if there's a daily squeeze or a weekly squeeze on the index for that matter. Okay, so if we look at this, during this time period, there was a squeeze. Let's talk about this squeeze right here. See this squeeze right here? Okay, so this ended at about the last day the squeeze was finished forming. Let's look right around here. This would have been our entry right around here, right? So the May 25th. Okay, now let's just go look at some examples of stocks. And this is why I'll look at other stocks when this happens. May 25th. May 25th. Okay, that's not a good example because that was the day of earnings. Okay. Let's see, Apple. May 25th. Right around here. May 25th. Look at the accelerated move we had. Right? Apple, outperformer, Amazon. Let's see. May 25th. May 25th. Here we go. Strong move up. It's basically the idea of when the markets have a squeeze and they're firing off and you decide to trade another stock, it's like you have the wind at your back versus something that's pulling you back. You have the wind at your back. It's pushing you forward. It's like riding downhill. You can get somewhere faster on a bike if you're riding downhill versus trying to ride uphill. Think of the market as the hill and the bike is the stock that you're trading, right? I just came up with that analogy. But like if you're riding the bike or you're trading the stock and you're going downhill trying to get somewhere, it's going to move a lot faster if you're going downhill. You're going to get there a lot quicker if you're moving downhill. If you're riding a bike uphill trying to get somewhere at the top of the hill, it's going to be a lot harder to get there because it's not, you don't have that momentum of the downhill. You have to fight an uphill battle, right? Okay, I hope that makes sense. But that's kind of like, that's the reason why. Stocks move with the indexes. And once you understand that, yeah, you'll be drained in your, yeah. So that's the easiest way, easiest way to go about this. Like, just focus on the indexes. If you don't find consistency trading other stocks when you, and just go to the indexes, see what happens. Like, it's a lot easier to trade the indexes. I don't really look at other stocks, honestly. I just look at the indexes. I've gone through periods of time where I will look at other stocks and I just don't find it hits as well. I find I miss really good opportunities in the indexes when I'm wasting my time looking around at other stocks. Okay. So now, with all that being said, if you still want to look at other stocks, let's talk about how you can do that. Okay. And you want to look at stocks in other sectors, things like that. How can you do this sector analysis? Okay, let's say you like QQQ. It's in a daily squeeze, it's setting up, and you want to go find the strongest stock in QQQ. Okay, so this is how you'd go about doing it. You go to Yahoo Finance, you type in QQQ, and then you go to holdings, scroll down a bit, and it's going to give you the top 10 holdings within the NASDAQ. And then this is your list. This is your list that you'll go through and look at. So like, you'll look at Apple, you'll look at Microsoft, and you'll say, okay, which one is the strongest one? And we can do that now. Let's say we wanted to go long the indexes, which I don't think I would do right now. But let's just say for sake of example. Okay, so right now, we'll look at Apple. Do we want to go long this thing? Probably not. Doesn't look good, right? We're looking for strong stocks, relative outperformers. Okay, so we're looking through that. Apple, nope. Let's see, Microsoft, nope. Okay, let's try Amazon. Amazon looks pretty strong. Looks like it's holding up way better than NQ, right? Like, this chart compared to Amazon looks way better. Stacked EMAs, holding this uptrend, looks pretty good, right? Okay, let's keep going. NVIDIA. This one looks better than the index. Looks a little wild. They got earnings coming up tomorrow, but this one looks good in terms of just how it looks over, like, in comparison to the index. It's stronger. It made it. Did it make a new high today? High 480.88. Yeah, okay. It made a new all-time high today. This one's strong, very strong. That's maybe one you want to pay attention to, right? If you're looking to go long. This is just sake of learning, right? Okay, here we go. Meta, nope. Like, would you rather be trading Meta, or for that matter, would you rather be going long Apple, or would you rather be going long NVIDIA when it just made a new all-time high today? NVIDIA, stronger, way stronger, right? Okay, now let's go look at Tesla. Nope. Okay. AVGO, Broadcom, looks okay. Looks a little bit stronger than indexes, not much. Doesn't look good compared to NVIDIA or Amazon, right? Okay, now let's look at Google. This one looks really good. Like, if I was going to pick two that I was going to watch, it would be NVIDIA and Google, right? Like, Google's got a nice little bull flag. It's got its earnings gap, which means that typically that's a good thing. It's a gap and go type deal after earnings. And we have a squeeze here too. So it's setting up in a squeeze. It's got all the favorable aspects that we want, right? And so this is just a clean setup. Never broke below the 34 EMA. This, would you rather go long this or Apple? This or Apple? Come on. Like, it's obvious, right? Google looks way better, right? So that's how you want to go about doing this. And then, so That's how you can go about looking at different stocks within sectors. Now, SPY is different. Do the same process. Okay, a lot of the holdings are similar, but they've got a few random ones in here, right? That are a little bit different. Like, so we've got Berkshire Hathaway, we've got, what other ones don't match up in here? AVGO and the QQQ, United Health Group, PepsiCo is in QQQ, that's not in SPY. United Health Group, let's take a look at that one. Looks like it's breaking down. Okay. And it shouldn't take you longer than 1 second to say, is this a good looking setup? Like, same thing with Apple and these things. Like, okay, does this look good to go long? You can tell in 1 second. No, it does not. Google. Looks pretty good. Like, it really does. Looks very strong. And so if I was considering going long anything, if NVIDIA didn't have earnings tomorrow, yeah, I'd probably be looking to go long NVIDIA if I was interested in being long in the market. Same thing here. I'd be looking at Google. That'd be the only two, right? Okay, so now let's say we've looked at the market, right? So we talked about this. We want to go index, then we go sector. I'll put SE. And then stock. ST. Okay. So now we're looking at, okay, so now how do we go about this, right? So I've put a list for the people in the signals chat. I have a good list in there of all the different sectors, the ones to watch. I can post that later today for you guys as well after this class, and you guys can go over that. So let's clear this off real quick. So now let's say you like the way QQQ looks and say you want to go along QQQ. You're like, okay, so now let's go look for a strong sector. So let's go look. So this would be the exact process. So let's go look for a strong sector. Okay, SMH looks okay. Let's see, XLK doesn't look that great. XLC, not that great. XLB doesn't look good. XHB doesn't look good. Nothing looks good right now. Let's see. What's another one? XLV, which is healthcare. Nope. XLU. Okay, so obviously nothing looks very good to go long. So let's do this on the short side. Okay. So let's say we think market looks good for a short. So let's go look at a few different ones. So SMH, this one looks a little stronger than the rest. XLC, this one looks like it's starting to roll over. What's one that looked really weak? That's not what we want to look at now. XLB, here we go. Okay, so, all right, XLB looks weak. Let's go find some stocks in XLB. So this is exactly what you'll do. You'll type it in, you'll do the same exact process, and then you're going to go through here. But it always starts with the index, right? Okay, now we can look through this list of top 10 holdings and pick one that we think might be something we might want to be a part of, right? Okay, so Lynn, I don't know what that is. That one looks stronger than the index, right? So we won't want to do that. APD looks okay. SHW. This one looks stronger than the index, right? FCX. This one looks pretty weak, right? So this would probably be one of the top contenders here. This one looks weak. So we want to trade that weakest one. If we're bearish, we want to trade the weakest one in a weak looking sector. That one looks strong, right? So we wouldn't want to short that one. That one looks okay. We've got a squeeze. I would probably be pretty inclined to take this one. We've got EMA stack negative. We've got bearish squeeze, yada, yada. Looks pretty good. Now this one's really weak. Broke major support. Okay, so now this is probably the weakest one within the sector. So what we would go and do is we'd look for a lower time frame squeeze, wait on one, and then we can take an entry based on that lower time frame squeeze and kind of play the momentum of the squeeze here. Let's see, what's the weekly doing? Okay, so the weekly just fired off a short squeeze. This is going to run for about 8 to 10 bars, right? On average, this is going to have an 8 to 10 bar move down. So all we got to do now is wait for a pullback, maybe to the 21 EMA on the daily time frame, or we just wait for a lower time frame squeeze to get into. But I think this one could have a lot more significant downside because we just had a weekly squeeze fire off. So this will give us a lot of wind at our back, right? For this to move lower. Let's see, did XLB have a squeeze that fired off? Nope. It might though. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Does that make sense in terms of how you go through and look for kind of setups that you might want to take? You go with the index, then you go with the sector, and then you go with the stock. The easiest way to do this is go with the index and trade the index. But what if the index doesn't have a squeeze or it doesn't have a setup? Then you just wait. You should be patient anyways when that happens, because if the market doesn't have a setup, then you don't really have a setup to trade. So it always starts there. And honestly, I like to skip all those steps and just trade the index. Makes it super simple, makes it easy to make decisions, and makes it easy to get into the trade. I don't have to look at too many other things. I can just look at the index and make my decision based on that. Okay. All right. So I said we were going to do a giveaway at the end of this class, and let's do that. So let's see. Let's see here. Okay, so I'm going to ask a question in the chat, and then you just type in the chat the answer, and then we will go through and see who answers it first, right? Okay. So you can type this in the chat as soon as we start, and as soon as I give the question, you can type in the answer. Okay. So what is the process that you have to take in order to take a trade? In terms of, if you wanted to trade Meta, what is the process you have to take? Main concept of this whole thing. I can't give it to. All right, I'll send you something, but I can't. All right. All right. I'm gonna have to give somebody. All right, hold on. Okay, that's not fair. He's an analyst. All right, we're gonna have to have somebody else. We're gonna have to do another question. Okay, so here's one. Okay, so what sector is NVIDIA in? Who can get this one? That's a little harder of a question. Yep, okay, he got it. SMH. All righty. Nice job. What is your Discord tag? Just type it in the chat real quick, and then we can I'll write it down and tell support to send it over to you. Okay. All right, just send it to me in the chat. You can DM me or just message it in the trade floor, and I'll send it over to you. And then we'll get something sent over to you. Okay, cool. All right. Do you guys have any questions about anything, or does all this make sense? Okay, cool. So just remember, like, if you're ever wondering, I will post the major sector list in the chat after this class. And then whenever you're looking for like doing this process, all you got to do is go to Yahoo Finance, type in the ticker, and then go to the holdings, scroll down a little bit, and it will tell you the top 10 holdings. You can do it on the Yahoo Finance app as well. Super easy. Okay. All right. Thank you guys. Have a good rest of your night. I'll see you for the markets tomorrow.